Hello, welcome to my channel. Today we're looking into the disappearance of Shannon Denise Melendi. She went missing March 26, 1994. Forgive me if I didn't pronounce her name correctly. From Atlanta, Georgia. She was only 19 years old, about 5'6" and 130 pounds. White, Caucasian, Hispanic, Latino. It says she was a sophomore at Emory University and was employed at the now defunct Softball Country Club on North Decatur Road in Atlanta, Georgia in 1994. She was a scorekeeper and sports equipper salesperson. She arrived for her shift at about 8:40 a.m. on March 26. She agreed to help keep score during a game at field number 1 after her employer mistakenly slated her for a shift after a scheduling conflict. She worked until about 12:40 p.m. that day. She was seen shortly thereafter across the street from the club at the Citgo gas station where she purchased a soft drink. She took a lunch break and was never seen again. Police found her car parked at a nearby Citgo gas station, unlocked with the keys in the ignition. In August 2004, that's 10 years later, Colvin Butch Hinton was charged with her abduction and murder. He was convicted in September 2005. He stated that he had lured her into his car, then forced her to drive to his home and raped her at knife point before strangling her. He stated he burned her body and discarded the ashes. In light of his confessions, authorities are renewing the search for Melendi's remains. Brown hair, brown eyes. There was a Jane Doe that was burned. Hold on. But she was shorter. And I don't know when it happened. Case files. Unidentified. Geographical. Females. She does kind of look like her, but the year that it happened doesn't fit. Here she is. September 16, 2003. That's before he was convicted, before he was charged in 2004. This female was in Cedartown, Polk County, Georgia. Homicide by gunshot and burned. Estimated age 15 to 25 years old, but only 5'1" to 5'2". Black, straight, fine cut. She does kind of look similar to her, though. And it says she was found after an explosion at a residence in Cedartown, Georgia. Which, made me think they were cooking drugs or something, and so I wasn't sure. The fire was confined to one bedroom. There were 2 male victims with the female deceased. She was shot in the mouth with her hands duct taped behind her back. And it doesn't have an estimated time of death, year of death or anything. But I had just assumed maybe she had died around 2003. And I had left her out. But there she is. So here she is, quite so beautiful and stunning. And I don't know if they'll ever find her remains. Says she's of Cuban descent. Speaks English and Spanish. This says she was missing March 26, 1994. And that some agencies list her as missing October 24th, 1974. Oh, no, that's her birth date. They may list her birth date as October 24th, but it's October 20th, 1974. I don't know. So this says pretty much the same thing. She agreed to keep score after her employer mistakenly slated. She didn't arrive home. Her roommate discovered her Nissan abandoned at the Citgo parking lot later during the day. The keys were in the ignition and the vehicle was unlocked. There was no sign of her. Her father said that the officials told his daughter's roommate and additional friends to drive her car back to the university. He reported the investigators did not obtain fingerprints from the vehicle. They learned that Colvin Cornelious Butch Hinton III may have been the last person to have seen her on the day she disappeared. A photograph of him is posted. He was employed as an umpire at the softball game at the time. He also worked full-time with the Delta Airlines in Atlanta. He has a history of assaulting women and was imprisoned for 2 years in the 1980s for the abduction and molestation of a young girl. He reportedly flirted with her during the games and was reprimanded by the field's management earlier in 1994. An unidentified man contacted a tip line several days after she vanished. The individual claimed that he had her and that she was alive and felt lonely. He promised to leave a piece of her jewelry at the pay telephone booth, where he placed the call as evidence. Authorities traced the call outside of a Burger King and a phone booth restaurant near Rex, Georgia, which is a suburb of Atlanta. Hinton also resided in Rex in 1994. Although the caller's identity has never been established, a ring that Melendi received from her aunt was discovered near the booth, wrapped in a bag and masking tape. How sad. Investigators concentrated their efforts on Hinton after the call was received. His residence was searched several times. Authorities discovered women's clothing, shoes, a sleeping bag, and a club scorecard buried in his yard. They also took away a hard plastic cooler. The black tote bag Hinton reportedly carried on the day she vanished was also recovered. There was no sign of her. He lost his job shortly after. His coworkers claimed he bragged about the possible connection to a murder-for-hire case. Media outlets focused heavily on his suspected involvement in her case. He borrowed his father's butcher saw on the day she vanished. His neighbors also complained that he burned trash in his backyard during the evening hours. He set fire to his residence in September of 1994, 6 months after she disappeared. Authorities speculated that he intended to destroy evidence related to her case. He blamed the fire on faulty vacuum cleaner, but was convicted of arson and insurance fraud in April 1995 and sentenced to 9 years in federal prison. He was released in December 2003, but in August 2004 he was charged with her abduction and murder. Police believe that he either killed her intentionally or that her death was an unintended result of him kidnapping her. Prosecutors cited new evidence, including alleged confessions Hinton made to cellmates, as a reason for Hinton's arrest. They theorized that Hinton murdered Melendi and disposed of her body by dismembering it and burning the parts in a bonfire in his backyard. They also believe he was the man who made the phone call to the tip line and left the ring by the phone booth. Metal particles on the bag containing the ring were linked to Delta Airlines, where he worked in 1994. Experts testified that the particles contained unusual alloys that could only be found around jet engines. He pleaded not guilty to the murder, but he was convicted in September 2005 and given life in prison, as prosecutors did not seek the death penalty. He will be eligible for parole in 14 years, but it's unlikely that he'll be released at that time. He's the first person to have been convicted of murder in Georgia without the victim's body or evidence of a crime scene. He initially maintained his innocence in her disappearance even after his conviction, but in July 2006 he confessed to her murder and also admitted to making the telephone call and leaving the ring behind. He stated he had lured her into his car, then forced her to drive to his home, raped her at knife point before strangling her. He stated he burned her body and discarded the ashes. In light of Hinton's confession, authorities are renewing the search for her remains. She was raised in the Miami-Dade, Florida area. Her loved ones describe her as ambitious and popular young woman. She was majoring in Spanish and political science and accepted a paid internship at the Carter Center in Atlanta. After her enrollment at Emory University, she planned to eventually go to law school. Foul play suspected in her case due to the circumstances involved. Southwest 48th Street from 87th Avenue to 107th Avenue in Miami was renamed Shannon Melendi Drive in her honor after her disappearance. That is so sad. So when I look at Jane Doe's, I really don't think any of them are going to be her because, he burned her body and I don't know if they're going to find her. But there were some Jane Does that kind of reminded me of her, so I wanted to include them. And they don't really fit her description quite, though. Okay, the first one is this lady, and she was found all the way in Oregon. And you can see the way she looks and the way Shannon looks. It kind of reminded me of her. Except she's 5'6" and 130 pounds, where Shannon was also 5'6" and 130 pounds. And Shannon went missing March 26, 1994, and this lady was found October 18th, 1994. She had long brown 12 inches long hair as well, and she had brown eyes. And what color was Shannon's eyes? Brown eyes, brown hair, brown eyes. So she reminded me of her. Even though this woman, they believe she was about 35 to 55 years old. I think she looks younger, though. But you can see. So beautiful. So she reminded me of her. And this victim was found in her hotel room at the Portland Inn, which she had checked into using a fictitious name. I don't know how she died. So, suicide. But she kind of reminded me of her. That's a long ways away, so, it's not going to be her, of course, because, he confessed to killing her and burning her remains. But like I said, she kind of reminded me of her. And it kind of makes me sad as well, so you get that same really sad feeling for her loss as you do for her loss, So then there's a uncertain doe, they don't know if it's male or female, found in Atlanta, Georgia. Estimated age range 20 to 50 years old. Estimated year of death could have been anywhere from 1950 to 2005. Bones were found by a surveyor working in the area. It doesn't say what area, just Fulton County, Atlanta, Georgia. I wish I would have told you what area of Atlanta they were found in. So if you could know if they were anywhere near an airport or something. Then we have a female uncertain found March 17th, 2015. They don't have any age, height, weight, no estimated PMI. Bones recovered when trash and debris cleared from an undeveloped lot. And this lady, even though she looks so much older, she kind of reminded me of her. She was found in 2001 and estimated to have died in 2000 from Atlanta, Georgia. And it also said that this woman had drugs in her sock, but they don't know if it was related to the woman's death or if somebody just put it there. She had a weathered skull, a few teeth, skeleton eyes. In a wooded area. She was found near Charlie Brown Airport. The foot was still inside of the shoe. And there was also, there was a bag of drugs in the sock. But they were found in a field near a housing project. The area is frequented by people who leave behind used condoms and empty crack bags. And the area has been a dumping ground for bodies in the past. It is near one of the 3 interstate highways through and around Atlanta and very near an industrial route. And somewhere they said they didn't know if the drugs had anything to do with her. Yeah, it may not have been connected to the body at all. The fact that there were only a small foot bones and the skull found indicates not that the body was dismembered, but that the body had been exposed long enough to allow animal activity. So, and I know she looks different. She's older, but she kind of reminded me of her as well. And then we have this Jane Doe found in Atlanta, Georgia in 2003, who died years prior. And it says she was estimated to be 35 to 55 years old. She was located in a wooded area near Cascade Circle, Southwest in Atlanta, Georgia, September 13, 2003, by people searching for war relics. And they don't know this young lady's height or weight or anything like that. And then, of course, we have this lady that was found in Cedartown, Georgia, who was shot and then burned as well. She was only like 5'1", 5'2", and they don't know who she is. And you see her face, she kind of reminds me of her. I don't know if you'll see it, but I think she kind of looks like her a little bit. Such a beautiful young lady as well. So if you have any information about what might have happened to Shannon, which it sounds like they have quite a bit of information, but maybe you know, maybe you heard somebody drinking and talking, you know somebody that was in jail that heard something, and you're not sure if it's true, you feel like it's hearsay, and you haven't come forward. Please contact authorities and let them know, because it's not like you're going to testify in court. And let them decide what's relevant and what's important. And if you have any information about who any of these Jane Does are, please contact authorities and let them know. Don't forget that these are somebody's loved one, somebody's family member that hasn't had closure, and that's just horrific. And please don't forget to pray for their family and their loved ones. Thank you for tuning in, and have a great day. Bye-bye.